Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saleyha Ahsan. I'm an emergency medicine doctor, a filmmaker, and I was an officer in the British Army. This is my story, my journey, and why I think continually educating yourself is important for everyone.
Saleyha Ahsan is an A&E doctor, journalist and filmmaker. Currently working in Wales, her roots are in Essex and further beyond in Pakistan.
My dad left Pakistan when he was 19, came to the UK, lived with my uncle who suggested his sister as a wife because my dad was looking to get married, and you know, the rest is history, as they say. My dad went back to Pakistan, married my mum in Abbottabad, which is where she was from, and then travelled back to the UK, and that's the last time my dad ever went there. From 1969, never went back because of the trauma he suffered as a child during partition. My mum was already a teacher. My dad went into teaching. His subject was maths and computer science, and then later astrophysics.
Saleyha is one of 6 children, all working in the NHS, 5 of them as doctors and 1 as a pharmacist.
My mum was a teacher, strongly believed in education. She told us to stand on our own 2 feet and not depend on anyone. My dad's motto was, you know, pursue education, so we did. And that manifested itself in us just having aspirations of going to university before we even knew what university was.
Saleyha's career, though, didn't start in medicine. It started somewhere very different.
I wanted to go into journalism, but I didn't want to study journalism, and I went into journalism at the time where it wasn't a degree course, so I went and did chemistry. But whilst I was at university in Salford, I joined the Officer Training Corps because I wanted to see what military stuff was like.
Saleyha decided to join the army and was the first British Muslim woman to graduate from Sandhurst, the Army's Officer Military Academy. She went to serve in Bosnia, and it was here that a big life change would occur.
The role of the military, the S4, the NATO Stabilisation Force, which I was part of, was to keep the area safe so people could vote. Unfortunately, when Bosnians returned, terrible things happened still. Homes were booby-trapped, for example. Bosnian homes had been booby-trapped by Serb neighbours. So there was one particular day when a man came home, stepped into his front garden and had his leg blown off. He's stepped on a landmine that had been planted there. And in fact, there was 2 of them. They were rushed into our facility, military medical facility. And I remember standing there, and my boss, who was a major at the time, who's now a brigadier, said, "Have you ever seen any trauma?" And it's quite a big risk to ask a non-medic to have a look. I wouldn't dream of doing it now because they'd probably pass out. But he just went, "Watch this." And I watched, and I saw the medics just come around this really shocked, traumatised looking young man, late 20s, early 30s. His leg was on backwards, and he'd suffered a traumatic amputation almost of his leg, lower leg. And I just watched them, and I just thought, wow, that guy doesn't need a journalist right now, doesn't need me in my non-medical support officer role. He needs a medic, and that's incredible. And at that point, I thought, I think I want to be a doctor.
Saleyha left the army and went to medical school, becoming a doctor, but also not forgetting her first love of journalism.
So the minute I became a civilian, I just thought, I'm going to go to all the countries I wasn't allowed to go to. So the first place I went to was Kashmir. And we did it as a film for Channel 4. But I think there was a bit of novelty of this newly, this army captain who's just left the army pitching a story about Kashmir.
Alongside her journalism and medical career, Saleyha has completed a master's degree in human rights and is now back once again in the classroom.
I'm doing a PhD now about the impact of attacks against healthcare in conflict zones. So basically, we all know that bombing a hospital and killing doctors is bad, but I want to look at how bad. Because we know it's bad, it's been widely reported that it's happening, but nothing's changed. So I want to look at it academically, maybe bring some evidence, some data, some science to it, some even health economics to it, that might then help policymakers, the decision makers, to then hopefully come up with something that might stop it.
Recently, Saleyha has made a television programme about the COVID crisis, and having lost her father to the illness and as a practicing doctor in A&E, it's more than just a story to her.
My parents were really proud of me that I actually, not that I did medicine, but that I even went into it later in life after other things, and them feeling proud means a lot to me. And I also think as a Muslim, they've gone now recently, and when I continue to help other people, they'll get the rewards and the blessings for that. I believe in that. But there is no other feeling like the day that I finish a shift and I've done something for someone. None of the other stuff equates to that. And no one will ever know about it. It was between me and that patient, or me and my team. I'll look dreadful, I'll be exhausted, I'll feel like I've been in a washing machine going round and round and spinning. But there's nothing like that feeling when you leave and you just think, yeah, that was worth it.